بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Last week we went through the introduction of the book that we are going to go through inshallah, the 40 hadith of Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah. And we said that these 40 hadith, they are around the principles of Islam, and the scholars use this hadith to explain core principles of our religion. Right. So today we're going to go through hadith number 1 inshallah. Hadith number 1, the text of the hadith: عن أمير المؤمنين أبي حفص عمر بن الخطاب قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات. إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته لدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. And this is mentioned in Al-Bukhari wa Muslim. The translation of this hadith is narrated by Amir al-Mu'mineen, the leader of the believers, Abu Hafs Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And he said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, actions are according to intentions, and everyone will get what they intended. So whoever migrates with an intention for Allah and His Messenger, the migration will be for the sake of Allah and His Messenger. And whoever migrates for worldly gain or to marry a woman, then his migration will be for the sake of whatever he migrated for. So with this hadith, first of all, this hadith, who is the narrator of the hadith? Now, before we go in there, I want to see who was listening. And I did say last time that we're going to make this a bit more interactive, inshallah. So I'm going to just ask everybody, if you'd like to participate, inshallah, you can go onto this website. It's called menti.com, and you can enter in that code, inshallah. Menti.com, and you can enter that code. For the sisters downstairs, if you can't see the code, it's 8330-3470. Yeah, so it's menti.com, menti.com. Inshallah, we're going to be using this, so get used to this website, inshallah. Menti.com, menti.com. Should be able to scan it. I think if you come there, inshallah. The code is 8330-3470. So this is just optional, whoever wants to interact, inshallah. It's going to be anonymous, you don't need to worry about your name coming up on the board and on the screen. So, menti.com, menti.com, and the code is 8330-3470. One of the sisters downstairs is making a note of it, so those that they can join in, inshallah. 8330-3470. طيب, inshallah. So let's get into the hadith number 1. Okay, that's the code. One more time. Okay. Right. So the first question that we want to use, inshallah, for those of you that were listening to the hadith, what is the name of the narrator? Just write down what you think the name of the narrator is. Just the name, not title or anything like that. Just what do you think the name of the narrator was? Write down the name of the narrator. those of you that that don't want to use the mobile phone, we'd like to answer before we see it. Okay, class. Umar ibn al-Khattab. Yeah? The name of the narrator is Umar ibn al-Khattab. Right. Next question, for those of you that are listening. What is the kunya, or the nickname of the narrator? What was the kunya, or the nickname of the narrator? So we know his name is Umar ibn al-Khattab. What was his nickname? What was his kunya? Write down what you think the answer was. So we said the name is Umar ibn al-Khattab. But what is his kunya? Huh? Abu Hafs. Close. Abu Hafs. Yeah? Abu Hafs. Let's see how many got it correct. I think a bit more, we'll shorten the time next time. It's a bit of a long one for a short answer. So the kunya, or the nickname of the narrator is Abu Hafs. Yeah? And finally, what is the title of the narrator? What is the title of the narrator? So if his name is Umar ibn al-Khattab, his kunya is Abu Hafs, what are the titles? And you can also add a title that you know. This one you can add a title that you know that was not mentioned. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, that was the title that was mentioned to him. Does anybody, let's see, can anybody also write down the title? Ahsant al-Faruq, that was the one I was waiting for. Al-Faruq. So these are two titles that are known for Umar ibn Khattab. The first one is Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the second one, Al-Faruq. Right. So we'll just go back, inshallah. Right. So the narrator of the hadith, we said, is Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abu Hafs, and he's called Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he was the first ever to be named Amir al-Mu'mineen. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he was the leader of the believers, he was called Khalifa to Rasulullah, the Khalifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whereas Umar ibn al-Khattab, he was referred to as Amir al-Mu'mineen, first ever in the history of Islam to be called Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he was also called Al-Faruq, the criterion. Al-Faruq was given to him because فرق الله به بين الحق والباطل. Allah made clear with Umar ibn Khattab, by using Umar ibn Khattab, the truth and falsehood. He separated them with Umar ibn Khattab. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he made dua and he said, oh Allah, make Islam victorious. Allahumma izz al-Islam بأحب الرجلين إليك. Oh Allah, make Islam honored and give Islam power and honor by giving Islam to either one of these two men, the one who is most beloved to you. And he said, Amr ibn Hisham or Umar ibn Khattab. Amr ibn Hisham is who? Abu Jahl and Umar ibn Khattab. And Allah answered the prayers for Umar ibn Khattab. And just a quick short anecdote on why he was named Al-Faruq, according to one narration. There was a Jew who came in Medina, and he had a dispute with a munafiq. It's hadith al-Za'jib. He had a dispute with a munafiq. A munafiq is somebody who says he's a Muslim outwardly, but inside he is a kafir. And they had a dispute between each other. The Jew said, let's go to Rasulullah, let's go to Muhammad, your prophet, because he claims to be a Muslim. Let's go to him to solve our dispute. To show you that even those who are not Muslims, they believed in the adala of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how just Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. So the munafiq, knowing he's in the wrong, he said, why don't we go to Ka'b ibn al-Ashraf, one of the Jewish poets. He said, why don't we go to him instead? And the man said, no, let's go to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So they go to Rasulullah, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam judges in favor of the Jew, to show how just he was. This man here is a munafiq. He's somebody who is showing himself as a Muslim, but deep inside he's a kafir. And here this man is a clear Jew. He's a person who is not upon Islam. Yet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has just said he's the one who's right, and he points to the Jew. The munafiq was not happy with this. So he went to Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said, let's go to Umar ibn al-Khattab. And they go to Umar ibn al-Khattab and they say, the Jew says to Umar ibn al-Khattab, your companion, meaning this munafiq, they don't know he's munafiq, that your companion here, he had a dispute with me. We went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he didn't like what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam judged. So Umar ibn Khattab looked at the hypocrite and he said, Awa kadalik, is that the case? That you weren't happy with the qada of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You weren't happy with how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam judged in this case? And he said yes. So he says, wait a moment. He comes back with his sword and he kills the munafiq. Kills the munafiq. And they were shocked at that. And he said, this is the ending of the one who is not happy with the qada of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because he's a Muslim, he's supposed to accept Islam. So him doing that is apostasy. This is clear apostasy. I'm not happy with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so that's why Jibreel alayhi salam came down with an ayah and he said that Umar ibn al-Khattab farraqa bayna al-haqq wal-batil. Umar ibn al-Khattab, he made clear between the truth and falsehood. Somebody that you can't mess around with truth and falsehood. It's not to say now that he was somebody who was hakim and he was in the position of hakim. Doesn't mean now that people take law into their own hands. Don't misunderstand or misquote this hadith. Right. So this is about the narrator of the hadith. Let's get into the actual hadith. Now this hadith, and Imam Ahmad said, is one of the 3 ahadith upon which Islam is based upon. And in some of the Salaf rahimahumullah, they said this is one of the 2 hadith that the entirety of Islam is based upon. This hadith, the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, the one that says, whoever does an action that is not upon our deen, upon our affair, will have it rejected from them. And the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir, all of these hadith are in Imam An-Nawawi. Inna al-halal bayn, inna al-haram bayn. This is Imam Ahmad's opinion that the 3 hadith, Islam is built upon it. Meaning this is how important this hadith is. Also, Abdurrahman ibn al-Mahdi, he said every author should start with this hadith. Whoever's going to write a book, let him start with this hadith. Because this hadith is about intention. That's how important it is. And that's why Imam An-Nawawi, even Riyadh al-Salihin and many of his other works, he started with this hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Likewise, Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, he started his Sahih collection with إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. The first hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari is إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. This hadith that we're going to go through, inshallah. And it's also one of the 2 conditions for worship to be accepted. For your worship to be accepted by Allah, there are 2 conditions. Number 1, that you worship Allah. Your intention is for Allah. And number 2 is what? That it should be according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is one of the conditions of worship to be accepted. Like, so this is just a brief explanation regarding the hadith. Now let's get into the parts of the hadith. We started off with إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are according to their intentions. This is what it means. First of all, the balagha here, as the ulama point out, is إِنَّمَا. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't say al-a'malu bin-niyyat. He said إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ bin-niyyat. Adatu hasr, which is exclusivity. Meaning actions are not governed by anything other than your intentions. Your intentions are that, basically your intentions are meaningless without intentions. Your actions are meaningless without intentions. If you don't have intention for your action is meaningless. What do we mean by this? If a person comes now and he just does the actions of salah and he has no intention of salah, his salah is meaningless. He needs to have the intention of performing salah. Likewise, somebody goes and he washes himself just randomly. He can't say now that he's done wudu because he had no intention to do wudu, even if he washed all the parts of his body. So there are different types of actions. The first type are actions of the heart. Who can give me an example of actions of the heart? What kind of actions are there of the heart? Something that you would do with your heart. Huh? Okay, so having your alliance, love and hate, that's an action of the heart for the sake of Allah. Fear of Allah, yeah? Like actions of the tongue, for example. Sorry? Making dua, okay, or reciting Quran, making adhkar. Like actions of the limbs. Walking to the masjid. So these are the three types of actions that you can have. The heart, the tongue, and the limbs. And intentions, where are they from? They are from the heart. Okay? Intentions are initially from the heart, not lip service. Don't make it such, and we're not going to go into the fiqh side of it, of what Imam Shafi'i, the opinion of this, but we're just going to go into the main source of it, meaning the intention initiates from the heart. It's not something that should just roll on the tongue, meaningless. It comes primarily from the heart. Now, with this saying, actions are according to the intentions, we can make daily normal activities, and that can make you get closer to Allah. What do I mean by that? For example, you can go home now and you can eat food shahwatan, just because like you want to fill yourself up, and you will get no reward or sin for that. It's permissible for you just to eat. But if you go and you make your intention, I want to eat so I'm strong, I want to eat so that I'm healthy, I want to eat even better so that I am able to do ibadah. For example, in Ramadan, somebody, he has a little snack at midnight with the purpose of giving him strength for ibadah, then his action has now become something that he'll be rewarded for. Why? Because of his intention. So a daily normal activity, for example, another example, somebody has a shower just to refresh himself, and somebody has a shower with the intention of ghusl. The first, he just wants to wake himself up, he just wants to feel a bit cool, no sin on him, no reward on him. But the one who did it now with the intention of ghusl, and he's done ibadah, he gets the reward. Or likewise, even the one who just washed himself, he had a shower because he wants to get fresh for ibadah, and wants to do something that is good, then he will also get the reward because of his intention for doing so. So this is what we mean in another aspect of this hadith, that actions are according to the intentions. And also, differentiating, one of the things that the scholars mentioned, to differentiate between the levels and the types of worship. So for example, when you come into the masjid and you say Allahu Akbar, you are making intention for tahiyyat al-masjid. Whereas when the Imam starts the salah and you follow behind him, your intention here is for a fariḍah, something that is farad. So here your intentions, they differ. One is for nawafil, one is for farad. And the examples for that are many. Right, let's quickly see how we're doing, inshallah. So, going back to this one here, actions are according to the intentions. Does this mean I am rewarded according to my intention? Does it mean my actions are meaningless without intention? Or does it mean intention is what counts even if I don't do the action? That's the correct one. Most of it shows my actions are meaningless without intention. I am rewarded according to my intention. We're not talking right now about reward. We're talking about what is your action based on? It's your intention. Okay, so this is what the meaning of that means. My actions are meaningless if I don't have any intention. This is what we mean for the first one. Like, what are the two conditions of worship being accepted by Allah? So what are the two conditions of worship being accepted by Allah? We mentioned, what are the two conditions of worship being accepted by Allah? Give you a few moments just to write them down, and then whoever wants to answer, inshallah, live can answer. What are the two conditions of your worship being accepted by Allah? Ahmed.
Has to be for Allah.
First of all, it has to be for Allah, Ahsan.
And it has to be from the Sunnah of the Prophet.
And it has to be according to the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Right, let's see. Yeah, intention and sunnah. Worship Allah according to sunnah. Correct intention according to the sunnah. Yeah, so we'll just put this one up. Correct intention and according to the sunnah. And what we mean, as Ahmed said, correct intention يعني for Allah. Has to be for Allah, done for Allah. But this one is an interesting one here. Let's see. Give an example of how a normal daily activity can get you closer to Allah through intention. So give an example, try to give a different example. Give an example of an activity that is a normal day-to-day activity. It's not an act of ibadah, not salah, not zakah, not anything like that. Just a normal daily activity. And if you have the correct intention, or if you have a good intention, it can help you to get closer to Allah. Give an example. Okay. But this is the a good one, inshallah. Going to the gym, so I'm ready for Palestine. Exercise to get stronger for ibadah. Yeah. Feeding the family. Dhikr is a ibadah. I said dhikr is a ibadah. Buying the correct clothes that are suitable for salah. Again, you're buying clothes, not just for comfort and all these things. You're buying it because you want to make sure that your awrah is covered. Sleeping to regain energy to be able to perform the night prayer. Ahsant. Right. Yeah, mashallah. So some good answers here. So this is what we mean by normal day-to-day activities. Just a person correcting and honing onto his intention can make those activities things that will bring them closer to Allah. Like, another thing that I want to mention here that some of the ulama mention, they say the normal activities of Ahlul Dhikr or Ahlul Ibadah, the normal activities of them are Ibadah, and the Ibadat of Ahlul Ghafla, the worship of the people who are heedless, are Adat. What do you mean by that? So it's saying that if you do a date, like we said now, you do these actions, and you're from Ahlul Dhikr, the people who remember Allah, then you would make your intention for Allah. Even though it's a adah, it's something that's not an ibadah. Walking, sleeping, eating. That for you has now become like a form of ibadah. Whereas other types of people who are heedless and have no intention, what happens with them? Even their salah, it becomes like it becomes like a normal day-to-day activity because they don't have the niyyah. This is how important niyyah is. Like, okay, let's move back inshallah. So the next part of the hadith, that is إنما الأعمال بالنيات. The next part of the hadith is وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى. Everyone will get what they intended. What do we mean by this? Everyone will get what they intended. Again, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used the word إنما, meaning you will only ever get what you intended for, nothing else. You will only ever get what you intended for, nothing else. If you intended Allah, if you intended to get reward from Allah and the pleasure of Allah, you will get the reward and pleasure of Allah. If you did it to get praise, you will be praised. If you did it because you wanted to get something from the dunya, you will get whatever you wanted from the dunya. So this is what Allah is saying. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. And so basically you will be recompensed. You'll be recompensed based on your intention. Whatever your intention was, that's what you're going to get. And just a brief anecdote that can really make this clear, inshallah. The Hatim al-Ta'i, very famous. Hatim al-Ta'i was a non-Muslim at the time of Rasulullah, a man who was known for his being kareem. He was so generous. And in fact, he was so generous that there were people who would use him. Up until today, if you go in Ha'il, in Saudi, there's a place called Ha'il. The football team there is called Al-Ta'i, named after Hatim al-Ta'i. And the people there, they feel obliged to be generous because of Hatim al-Ta'i who's from that place. Now Hatim al-Ta'i, his son Uday, he came to Rasulullah and he said to him, my father did what he did, but he's still not going to go to Jannah. He's still not going to get the reward from Allah. And Nabi said, Inna abaka arada shay'an fa'adrakahu. Subhanallah. Powerful. This is something that makes us really think. He said, your father sought something and he got what he sought. Everyone will get what they intended. His father never wanted the akhirah. His father never wanted the akhirah in the first place. He didn't want the reward from Allah, so Allah didn't give it to him. If he wanted the reward from Allah, Allah would have given it to him. But what did he want? Dhikr al-nas. He wanted the people to remember him. And what's happened? The people remember him up until today. So he's getting what he intended for. He wanted people, in fact, to such an extent that there was a man who came from Rome. It's actually mentioned as a man who came from Rome because he heard of how generous this man was. Sorry, this is another one. A Bedouin came to him. And Hatim at this time was very busy and he told him, go away, go away. Then Hatim, when he was finished, he felt upset. He said, oh, I sent the man away. So he quickly runs after him. And he says, come back, come back. He goes, but he came and he was hiding his face. And he said, wait. So he doesn't know it's Hatim. He says, did you go to Hatim al-Ta'i? So he goes to this Bedouin man and he's hiding his face. Did you go to Hatim al-Ta'i? He goes, yeah, I went to him. And he said, how was he with you? He said, he was so generous. He didn't do anything. He said, he was so generous. Then he took his thing and he said, I'm Hatim al-Ta'i. I didn't even look after you. What made you say that I'm so generous? And the man said, do you think the people would believe me if I went and told them that Hatim al-Ta'i wasn't generous with me? So this shows you to what extent he would go to show his generosity. So this is what we mean by everyone will get what they intended. Two people doing the same action and you get two different recompenses. For example, somebody goes and he seeks knowledge. One person, he seeks knowledge for Allah because he wants to enter into Jannah. From the hadith, whoever seeks knowledge, Allah will make easy his path to Jannah. And the other person seeks the same knowledge, exact same knowledge, in the same way and same environment, uses the same books, same knowledge that's acquired. But his recompense, wal-'iyadu billah, is in the hellfire. Why? Because he did it riya'an, to show off. Or he did it because he wanted people to call him alim. He wanted people to call him a scholar. And so this is how intention can make one same action that two people are doing, yet two complete different outcomes. One is in the Jannah, one is in the Nar. To show you the importance of. And Sufyan al-Thawri said, the hardest thing that I found to work with is my intention. It's the hardest thing I found to work with. So when we say that a person has intention other than Allah, the ulama, they bring it into three categories. Number one is, a person does it for riyah. He does it to show off. Somebody, we're talking about a person who does an act of worship here. We're not talking about normal actions. We're talking about acts of worship. Salah, Hajj, Siyam, Jihad, all these things. If a person does riyah, if he does this with riyah, meaning I want to show off, I want people to praise me, this is why I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm going to go for Hajj so that they call me Haji. Yeah, I'm going to fast so that people say, look at how he fasts, mashallah. Then this is rejected from Allah completely. Because this is a shirk al-asghar. Yeah, this is a form of shirk and Allah does not accept any actions of shirk. So this is completely rejected from the person. The second type is somebody who's got mixed intentions. He wants to do it for Allah, but at the same time, he has a bit of ikhlas. The ulama say, if he started off the action wanting the praise of the people, then Allah has no need for that. What is the evidence? Hadeeth Qudsi, where Allah said, that I am free from those who make shirk with me. Whoever makes shirk with me in their ibadah, then I leave them and their shirk. Meaning I don't accept their actions. Allah is far more pure. Allah is far more greater that you associate partners with Him. Whether those partners be idols or people who are dead, or those partners be the praise and seeking some sort of, showing off. We want to get people to praise you for that. So Allah will leave off your action. Now, if a person starts off and he's got ikhlas, the shaitan comes to him and he's trying to battle with him, and he falls short in some cases. Some of the ulama say in this case, he will be rewarded, but he will be reduced because he didn't fight off this, and he didn't fight it off enough. But if he started off with the intention of showing off and ikhlas, the two don't go together. Allah will leave off his action, as is mentioned in the Hadith Qudsi. And the third type is worldly benefit. So a person says, I'm going to go for Hajj because, you know what, there's a good business opportunity, so I'm going to start off my business. Again, he's gone for something that, you know, he's belittled the cause of Allah with something of worldly benefit. Now the ulama say, if he went for Hajj and he said, my purpose is to go for Hajj for Allah, however, there's also business opportunities on the side that I will do. It's his secondary intention. Does this person have his action accepted? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes, but what? Reduced. Not the same as the one who said, I'm going to Hajj purely for the sake of Allah. Purely for the sake of Allah. Likewise, the one that the ulama give is the person who goes for jihad. He says, I want to do it purely li'ila kalimatillah, to raise the word of Allah, to do it purely for the pleasure of Allah. And also, if I gain some wealth, then that's good too as well. If he has that in his niyyah, then it reduces his reward. And if he makes it his only thing, then there's no reward at all. But the greatest one that he can have is say, I want to do it purely for the sake of Allah. So these are the three types of worship that people do other than Allah. Riya, sometimes mixing the intentions, and sometimes for worldly benefit. Now what happens if a person does it for the sake of Allah? You give sadaqah purely for the sake of Allah. Then somebody, you know, your accountant or something, he goes through your accounts and he sees that you made a big sum, mashallah, to a cause. And then he starts praising you and he says, you know, how generous are you? How charitable are you? So they asked the Rasulullah ﷺ about this, and he said, this is a quick bishara, like a quick glad tiding for the believer. Meaning it doesn't cancel his action out at all. It doesn't cancel out his action. Why? Because he did it for the sake of Allah. So if he did it for the sake of Allah, the praise will not affect him. The praise will not affect him. But it will maybe give him a bit of a, like, alhamdulillah, you know, this is something that is khair, inshallah. But he should not make it that this is his objective now. If he went out to give charity and his original intention was that I want people to praise me, that was riya. But we're talking about the person who did it solely for Allah, with complete ikhlas. And then somebody comes afterwards and starts praising him. He shouldn't let that praise get to his head. But because he did it with ikhlas, inshallah, that praise will not diminish from the reward that he had. Right. And on this note, a person should, nobody here would want to know, we wouldn't know our bad deeds. We do our best to hide our bad deeds from each other. And this is from the rahmah of Allah that He satar alayna, that He's covered our evil sins. But why do we not try to have our hasanat also private? Just as you are shameful to have your sins out in public, you should also try to have a khadi'ah, as we call it, a hidden good deed between you and Allah that nobody else knows. Whether that be sadaqah, salah, or anything that you can hide, that is only between you and Allah. And this will show you true ikhlas, because you're only doing it for Allah. And I want to give some examples here. One example was that of Zainul Abidin Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, the grandson of Ali radiallahu anhu. And he was known as Zainul Abidin. He used to give, the poor people used to leave food outside their homes. It was said about 20 to 40 homes. And he would leave it outside their door at night time. Come out at night time and leave it outside their door. Nobody knew about this, not his family, not his friends. Nobody knew about this. The day he died, it stopped. The poor people were no longer getting this food on their door. So they knew now that that was Zainul Abidin who was leaving the food. Because just before he died, they were getting it every day. Now he's dead, we no longer have this food out on the doorstep. Another example is Al-Hassan ibn Abi Sinan. He would go to sleep with his wife, and his wife is the one that says this. And she said that he would pretend to sleep with me just as a mother does with the child. And then when I fall asleep, he would go and would secretly go and pray. So one night, obviously, what happened is she pretended that she'd fallen asleep. And then when he goes, she looks to see what he's doing, and he's praying in the night prayer. Even his own wife, he doesn't want her to know. This is how much depth he's going to hide his khadi'ah. hide his good sins, his good deeds. طيب, let's see. Okay, so here we have, everyone will get what they intended. Everyone will get what they intended. So does this mean, وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى? Does this mean I will be recompensed based on my intention? Does it mean my actions have the correct, must have the correct intention? Or does it mean if I intend something, I must do it? What do we mean by this one? Everyone will get what they intended. Which one is it? I will be recompensed based on my intention. My actions must have the correct intention. Or if I intend something, I must do it.
Everybody will be recompensed.
Ahsan. Everybody will be recompensed based on their intentions. Yeah? So, most of us went for that one, that's the correct one. So my actions must have the correct intention. This is talking about the first part. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Now we're talking about everybody will get what they intended for. There's a fine line between the two statements. Like, moving on. What kind of different intentions are there for worship? Let's see if we can remember this. We mentioned this. I want you to include both the correct intention and the other incorrect intentions that we went through. Okay. Okay. So what kind of different intentions are there for worship? Include both the correct and incorrect intentions. Let's see. Ahsan, that's the first one, al-ikhlas. For the sake of Allah. That is the only intention that you should have. طيب. Praise from the people, we call this riya. طيب. Yeah, so this is all the bad intentions. Showing off riya, having mixed intentions. We said that doesn't count because Allah only accepts that which is pure. And doing it for worldly benefit. These are different kinds of intentions that they are for worship. Okay, so those are the types of intentions. Heart and the tongue and the limb. Those are the types of actions. Like, why doesn't Allah accept an action from someone who intended both ikhlas and riya? I'm going to pray salah. I intend to pray in the salah for Allah, but at the same time I want people to say that I have a beautiful voice, or I'm going to give sadaqah. I want to give it for the sake of Allah, but I also want people to say that I'm generous. So, why doesn't I want somebody to give a good example or a good answer to this why question? Why doesn't Allah accept an action from someone who intended both ikhlas and riya? Like, before we have a look, anybody want to answer this one? No?
They have to be praying for Allah.
Ahsan, because Allah is pure and Allah accepts only that which is pure. You mixing your intentions with that which is impure, then Allah has no need for that. Right? They don't go together. Yeah? Action has to be pure for Allah. Allah doesn't need it. It has an element of shirk associated with ahsan. Good answer. Right. Good, yeah. Because Allah doesn't accept a partner to him. Ahsan. Again, from that Hadeeth Qudsi, Allah leaves that person and his shirk. At the end, inshallah. Right. Let's move on. Why should you hide some good deeds? Why should you hide some good deeds? Let's quickly make a quick note as to why you think you should hide some good deeds. What is the reasoning behind having good deeds that are hidden that nobody knows? How is it good for you? Okay? Good to keep between you and Allah, so the reward is only with Allah. Ahsant. Good. Humbles you. In what way humbles you in front of who? In front of Allah. Not just humbles you. Remember, the greater thing is Allah. Ahsan. Helps you to make your intentions, to make sure your intentions are pure. When you do things in public, that's fine. But when you do it in private, you know that you have ikhlas, inshallah. you know that they're doing it for Allah. So that's why it's very important that you have the khadi'ah, the hidden good deeds. Like, now let's move on, inshallah, to the next part of the hadith, where Rasulullah ﷺ now gives the example to what has been said. He gives the example to say, so he gives the example, alayhi salatu wasalam, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِدُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أَوْ امْرَأَةٍ يَنْكِحُهَا فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. He gives now an example, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If a person goes for hijrah for the sake of Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is for the sake of Allah and His Messenger. And then he gives another example. Whoever makes hijrah to marry a woman or to get something from the dunya, then his hijrah is for the sake of whatever he went for. The first thing here that we can learn is that there's a pejorative aspect of this hadith. What do we mean by that? Rasulullah ﷺ, he glorifies that which is for Allah. So whoever's hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is to Allah and His Messenger. Meaning, I'm not even going to mention the reward. I'm not going to say Jannah. I'm going to say something far greater. Allah and His Messenger. That's what your reward is. That's how amazing your reward is. Glorifying it to that level. And then on the other hand, derogative or making a derogation of the other intentions. Whoever goes to marry a woman, whoever goes to get some worldly thing, he makes his hijrah just to get worldly aspects of this life, then his hijrah is for whatever he went for. I'm not even going to mention the recompense of it, because it's so little, so belittled. It's nothing compared to doing hijrah for Allah and His Messenger. So what do we mean here by this? A practical example again, somebody who seeks knowledge. You have one man that goes and he seeks the knowledge of Islam because he wants to remove jahl from himself. He wants to teach the people and he wants to get his levels higher with Allah, as is mentioned in the Quran. This person, his reward is with Allah, so great with Allah. The same person does the same action, but he does it because he wants to get a job, or he wants to become a qadi, he wants to become a judge, he wants some sort of worldly benefit. Then he will get whatever he wanted. He won't get any of that reward with Allah, which is far greater. Like, now mentioning the example that Rasulullah ﷺ, and again this is something that is amazing. Rasulullah ﷺ, and you find this a lot in his discourse, he wouldn't just mention a point and that's it, leave it open for anybody to interpret. Here he gives specific examples, showing you how much of a great teacher he was, alayhi salatu wasalam. Giving us a practical example so that we understand what this hadith means. So he says hijrah. What is the meaning of hijrah? It means, as the scholars have defined it, leaving the land of disbelief and evil and going to the land of Islam and good. This is one of the definitions that the ulama have given for the word hijrah. Like, so is hijrah obligatory or is it recommended? This is an important question, especially for all times. Is hijrah something that is obligatory or recommended? Is going from the land of disbelief or the land of evil and heading to the land of Islam, the land of good, where there's good, where it's better, is it obligatory or is it recommended? What do you think? Mixed? Both. When would we say it's obligatory?
If you are prevented from practicing Islam.
Ahsan. If you're prevented from practicing your religion, it's a wajib upon you. Like the people of Mecca, they were unable to practice their religion. They had to make hijrah. When would it be recommended then? Based on that, who can answer?
If you have a little bit of difficulty
Yeah?
practicing deen, but you still can do it.
Ahsan. You can still practice your religion, but there's a better place for you to go. Then it's recommended for you to go and you get the reward for going, inshallah. So, we say obligatory if you cannot practice Islam, recommended if you can get to a better environment. Now sometimes this can be, I'll give you an example. Somebody is living, for example, in a city where there's a lot of evil going on. And there's, drugs and all types of evil, and he's just constantly in this evil. He can't get out of it, no matter what he tries. Just like the man who killed 99 people. What was advised to him by the scholar? Go, leave the land, and go to a place where you can practice your deen. So if somebody goes from this city, yeah, not mentioning any cities in particular, and he decides to leave and goes to this city where there's in the same country, but there's a better Muslim environment and he's able to get away from the drugs and things like that. If he did it for Allah, then this is hijrah, inshallah. It's not the same thing that we had in mind, but it is a form of hijrah. He's left all that for the sake of Allah. He's left that because he now wants to get better. So this is also a type of hijrah. Like, how can you make hijrah? So if you look at the hadith, whoever makes hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger. In today's time, how can we make hijrah to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ when he is no longer with us? And we can't go to, when he was alive, we could go to him. But how in today's world can we make hijrah to Rasulullah ﷺ? Ahsan. To go to a place where you can live according to the Sunnah. Yeah? By migrating to a place where you can practice the Sunnah. If a person, for example, was in an environment where there's a lot of bid'ah, there's a lot of innovations, and if he was to practice the Sunnah or try to call the people towards the Sunnah, he's going to be hurt, he's going to be oppressed. Now if he's not a person of knowledge and he needs to teach the people, and he goes and he flees from there to a place where he can practice the Sunnah with ease, then that is a form of hijrah to Rasulullah ﷺ. And also if somebody wants to study the Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ, and he makes hijrah to that, it's like he's made hijrah to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like, we'll finish off now with just a quick. Like, so how does the hadith belittle the intention for other than Allah? When we said whoever's hijrah makes for Allah and His Messenger, whoever makes hijrah to Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger. And whoever makes hijrah to marry a woman or to get something from this dunya, then his hijrah is for whatever he went for. So how is this hadith belittling somebody who makes intention for other than Allah? Anybody want to answer this one?
Because the reward that he will be getting from his intention is lesser compared to what Allah will give him.
But how does the hadith show that? How does the hadith show that the reward is far greater when the one who makes hijrah for Allah and His Messenger? But if the other one, how does it show that? How does it belittle that intention?
For the first one, for Allah and Messenger, he said the reward is specifically Allah and His Messenger will reward him. And then for that one, he just said whatever.
Ahsan. Yeah, so this is in Balagha called tahqir or a pejorative. To just belittle it, not even to mention. فَهِجْرَةُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. His hijrah is for whatever he went. I'm not even going to mention for the woman. I'm not even going to mention for the dunya. I'm not even going to mention for the business that he went for. Wherever he went for, that's what his hijrah is for. Belittling it. Yeah. So, Ahsan does not mention any reward, does not mention any recompense, and that the reward is not even worth mentioning. Those are two good ways to word that. Ahsan. Right. Moving on, what do we mean by hijrah? What is hijrah? Who can put this down? If anybody knows the linguistic term of hijrah, write it down as well. If anybody knows the linguistic term of hijrah, we didn't say that. What does the word hijrah mean? If you can write down the meaning that we went for, I'll be happy to know that you listened. Sorry, I know we're almost coming to the end now, inshallah. Let's have a look. Leaving a land of disbelief to go to a land of Islam. Ahsan. This is the one. Leaving a land of disbelief to go to a land of Islam. Yeah? This is what we mean by hijrah in the Islamic terms. Right. Hijrah, abandon. Ahsan. Tark. Ma'na tark. Means to leave off. Yeah, that's what we mean by the linguistic meaning. And by the shar'i meaning, or migration, you can call it linguistic. But the shar'i meaning, migration from the land of kufr to the land of Islam. طيب. We'll finish off there inshallah. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. inshallah, if the sisters, if you can just write down here, if everything was okay, let me know any feedback or something about this, inshallah, so that we can improve it for next time, inshallah. Like, any questions regarding this hadith, Ibrahim?
Okay, so we're talking about the intentions.
Yeah.
And the mixed intention.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, we're doing salah.
Yeah.
You start off with good intention. Somebody walks in, for example, and the shaitan starts whispering to you and saying, like, beautify your salah and whatever. If you then make isti'adah, will you still be like rewarded as if you, will you be rewarded for a mixed intention, or if you?
Okay, so
repel,
yeah, that's good. That's the second time that I mentioned. You started off with ikhlas. Yeah, you were alone in the masjid, nobody was there. You started off with ikhlas, and then somebody comes in, and now you're tempted to beautify your salah because that person has come in. Again, that is from shaitan. So when shaitan comes, the best thing to do is isti'adah. And one of the things here to mention actually is a very good question. Should I leave off the action if I fear riyah? Should I leave off the action because I'm fearful that I'll be shown off? The scholars say no, because that means you've allowed shaitan to defeat you. Rather, you should, like you said, isti'adah. Say, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem." Yeah? And you said it, when you said the isti'adah, did you say it to yourself or did you say it in front of him? To yourself. He doesn't know. So the fact that you're making isti'adah shows, inshallah, signs of ikhlas. Signs that you're battling off that riyah, inshallah. Yeah? Well, should a person now say, I'm not going to pray Tahiyyat al-Masjid because I fear people are going to say that I'm showing off? No. You will allow the shaitan to defeat. Don't ever leave off good deeds out of fear of showing off. Rather battle with it. That's the whole point. It's a battle. You can't allow him you can't just be like, I'm giving up. Yeah? Like.
So, for example, you did a good deed, so maybe you gave charity.
Yeah.
And then you did it with ikhlas.
Yeah.
But then after someone prays, you kind of feel good as well. So then, is that also
Yeah. Again, like we said, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he was asked if a person is praised for something that he did, he said, "Ajilu bushra lil-mu'min," or kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That this is a quick, glad tiding for the believer. Now, how that praise affects you is very important as well. You start getting arrogant and proud and saying, "Oh, look at me, look what I did, look how generous I am." That's when you need to keep the thing in. And remind yourself of your original intention, which was for Allah. Remind yourself. I'm not saying now that a person gets praised, he should be, look, look, everybody's praising me. This is a battle for him as well. So he keeps himself in check. And he keeps himself around people. And that's why there's another narration, I'm not sure how authentic it is, but it says, throw the dust in those who praise. Throw it in their faces. You throw the dust in the people who praise. Why? Because you're messing with his intentions now. You constantly praising in front of his face, especially for an ibadah that he's done, you're making it so difficult for him to fight off his intentions. So people should be wary as well of over-praising when somebody has done something that is an ibadah. Like one last question, inshallah.
If you happen to mention it, that you did, is that the same thing afterwards? Say something, you give a charity,
Yeah.
and then days later you mention it to someone.
It depends on what was your intention for mentioning.
You just, I don't know, if you were talking about some topic and
that's in تبدوا الصدقات فنعمها وإن تخفوها وتؤتوها الفقراء. The ayah that says if you give your sadaqah in public, فنعمها به, then that's good. Why? Because you're encouraging someone. Oh look, I donated on this, and then you send it to someone else. This is a good way. وإن تخفوها وتؤتوها الفقراء, then if you were to hide it and give it to the poor people, then that is even better. If you were to hide it and give it to the people, that's even better. But there's times where public charity is good. That's what Allah mentions. In tubdu sadaqati فنعمها. If you were to make your charity out in the open, فنعمها به, then this is good. But what's even better? If you were to hide it. But there's times where we need to do that so that you encourage others maybe. It depends on what your intention is. If you did it just to show, you have to raji' niyyah, go back to your niyyah. Did you do it for praise? Or did you do it because you genuinely wanted to encourage that person to give sadaqah? Inshallah, we'll finish there. Okay, inshallah. We're going to try to sort out the board for the next one, inshallah. Sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.